Hey everybody, Adam Lusek here, and today we're hopping out of the computer to check out something that I've been meaning to see for a while. How artificial intelligence actually comes into play in terms of robotics. But naturally, I barely have any software skills and I definitely don't have any hardware or robotics skills, so I'll be documenting my journey along the way of how I actually set this up. First things first, I need to actually buy a 3D printer. So hopefully next time you see me, we'll have that and be putting it together. All right, it's been a couple of days. Loco finally showed up at my doorstep. Let's get it going.
A few
Failed prints.
later.
Took a bit, but finally got the printer working. It's the next day, printed off a little test bench. So now that that's ready, it's time to start printing some pieces. But before we can do that, let's actually talk about the robot that we're going to be making. Now, the robot I plan to make isn't designed by me specifically, but actually comes from the Le Robot project, Hugging Face's department that focuses on how deep learning can be applied to different robotic applications. And one of their employees, Remy Cadine, posted on Twitter a few days ago that they had just released a few new resources, an updated model of an affordable robot arm setup, and a guide on applying deep learning techniques alongside it. That piqued my interest. More specifically, this robot is an improved version of Alexander Koch's low-cost robot project, a two-part setup that includes a follower arm and a leader arm. The Hugging Face Le Robot team created a more optimized version called V1.1, which is what I'm specifically following. The big idea is, we'll control the actual leader arm that controls the main robot, record down all of the positional data points along the way, and also record the scene with our phone. Then, we'll use this all as training data to train a neural network to fully operate this completely remotely. Pretty damn cool, right? So now that I have my 3D printer set up, and I knew the robot that I wanted to make, I spent the next few days printing out all of the pieces for both the leader and the follower arm of the Koch robot. This came out to 14 pieces in total, 7 for the leader and 7 for the follower. While all of these pieces were printing, the rest of the electronic components all showed up at my door. So let's actually talk a little bit about all of the electronics and what they're going to be doing within the robot. The good news is, there's really not a whole lot of super complicated electronics here. To start, we have 3 different kinds of servos, which are a type of high-precision motor designed specifically for robotic applications. They're going to allow us to control the different joints in our robotic arm and are useful for precise position controls, repetitive motions, and fast responses. We also have a servo driver board, which is how we're actually going to control the servos from our computer. And additionally, we have a converter module that will help regulate the different voltages needed for the different kinds of servos. The rest of the items were just a few cables that we needed and a couple accessories for connecting everything together. And so now that I had all the pieces printed and all of the pieces that I ordered here, I finally started assembling, which is when I realized that there were actually 15 pieces that needed to be printed, and I completely missed one, which just so happened to be the first piece that needed to be assembled here. But with that out of the way, both the follower and the leader arm started taking shape. Took a few days, but now we've got the follower arm and the leader arm all built out. So now we can switch from the hardware part of this back over to the software. So I proceeded to clean up my table a little bit, clamp down both of the arms, and then start connecting them straight to my computer. LaRobot's repository made it super easy to set this stuff up. They had all of the scripts ready to automatically scan and detect all of the servos. All you had to do was plug each one in one by one until all of them were daisy-chained together. The program then recognized each one of these and set up the ID and made sure that everything was all nicely connected. This all worked out great when setting up the leader arm, but when I started to set up the follower arm, I ran into a bit of a firmware issue, and when trying to update the firmware of the first servo, accidentally killed my motor. Well, after successfully being able to set up the leader arm, the follower arm, however, I've been having some troubles with, and it appears I've managed to completely kill this first servo here that I have, so bit of a minor setback, but we've got a new servo coming hopefully in the next week or so, and well, we'll pick it back up then. But not to waste any time while waiting, I went ahead and made the cardboard box that we're hopefully going to teach the robot to place little bricks in, and of course, the little bricks themselves. Then before I knew it, the replacement servo had finally come in and been delivered, and I was ready to get the project back on track. And so one quick servo replacement later, my spirits were higher than ever, and I had a phenomenal announcement to make. So despite the minor week-long setback where I had to wait to get the replacement servo, I'm now thrilled to announce that both of the arms are successfully connected to my computer. So now what we can do is actually calibrate them and hopefully get them moving a little bit. So this should move. It did it. Let's go. And so what you just saw there is confirmation that both of the robotic arms could connect directly to my computer. I could read their positional data and then also write their positional data, meaning that I could change the different positions of the servos, thus controlling it from my computer. And now that things were working, all I had to do was calibrate both the leader and the follower arm together, and then I would be able to teleoperate both of them. Essentially, all of the movements that I made on the leader arm would be copied by the follower arm. And now we can get the first part of the robot up and working right now. Or, well, we would have if I hadn't installed the elbow motor backwards. But one quick flip later, we were back on track. Now with the first part of actually getting the robot up and operational, the second part was setting up my space, attaching in a camera, and then starting to get things ready for data collection. And the way that this worked is that as I would be teleoperating the follower arm with the leader arm, the positional data from all of the motors would be captured in an array, as well as an encoding of the two cameras that I have. My one webcam that I have set up above the whole scene, and then a second one coming directly from my laptop camera, which we have in front. With that now all set up, all that was left to do was run through and record all of the training data.
Recording episode 0.
And the process that you just saw was repeated about 50 times with 5 different locations of the block in front of the robot. The technique that we're using here is actually called imitation learning, where what we're doing is recording down what we expect the robot to do, and then we're going to use all of that data to train it to be able to imitate or replicate our actions. And because this is such an unorthodox data set, the LaRobot team has provided a phenomenal tool to actually visualize your data set, which we can see in this, both of the outputs from our camera, both my laptop camera and the webcam that I have above, as well as the different positions of each individual motor within the follower arm. So now with the full data set of picking up the block and putting it into the cardboard box recorded, the only thing left to do was actually train a model on it. So to speed things up, I hopped over to my desktop that has a GPU in it and started running the training. But what is it that we're actually training, and how is it going to control the robot? Well, what we've got going on here is a 52 million parameter neural network called an Action Chunking Transformer, or ACT for short. Essentially, it's going to take the training data that we collected by demonstrating how to perform the task of picking up the block and putting it in the box, and create a network that can accurately predict the correct movements to complete the task, given what it sees. This model will then become what's known as the robot's policy, which in this context means the strategy or different rules that the robot uses to determine what actions to take in any given situation. The hope is then that at the end of training, we'll have an ACT that can take the input from both of our cameras, as well as the positional data from the motors, and predict the next 100 steps to take that it's learned from our training data. And after letting the model train for a couple hours, we ended with a real nice looking loss curve, which means that we should now be able to apply this back to our robot. But I was thinking, if we're gonna be giving this little guy some sentience, he might as well look the part too. And with that final upgrade, it was time to see if our robot could actually do it. Surprisingly enough, it just worked, didn't it? It's crazy. He was able to learn exactly how to go ahead and pick up a block and then place it right back into the box there. Now we had a little bit of trouble for some of these. But, we got over it all in the end, didn't we? Now, this project was an incredible journey of learning all about how robotics and artificial intelligence are starting to really come together in this day and age. I'd like to give a huge shout out to the LaRobot team, and I'll have all of the resources that I followed and all of their guides linked in the description below. If you're interested in how much this project actually cost, all of the pricing of everything involved is now going to be listed right here. So, as you can see, a lot of time and money goes into making these videos and these projects. So if you enjoyed what you see and you want to support the channel, do consider subscribing. If you want to support it even more, consider joining a membership or dropping a super thanks. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.